I'm sure you've been in a situation or environment where you've had to deal with people that you get along with and you don't get along with just because of different walks of life, different thought process and feelings. Today, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of people. And if we work together, right, and talk about it in a healthy way, we will be able to love people more and respect them more. So let's sit back, relax, and dive deep into this topic on today's episode of the Bump Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Bump Podcast. I'm your host, Shamir, here with my co-host and beloved brother, Nabil.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us yet another week.
Indeed. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about pros and cons that everybody has. We all have them.
Yeah.
We just want to bring it up because there's different factors around that we can work with to better ourselves as people and maybe come to an understanding with other people. But before that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channels and to all our social platforms. We appreciate the support and all the people that have been supporting thus far.
Yes.
We want to thank you guys. So Nabil, do you have a definition? How's your week gone? Let's hear it all.
Definition. The pros and cons essentially means advantages and disadvantages, right? Sure. It's used when carefully considering the good and bad points of something. So there's that. How's my week been? It's been challenging.
For sure. Mine has too.
Oh, I was going to yell into the mic, but then I'd blow all of your ears up.
I just wish you guys could see the behind the scenes of
our lives,
of what goes on, man. Sadly, I don't share everything, man, because, it's hard. It's hard to sometimes share.
There's just some things you got to it's right, personal.
Exactly. You got to take it to the grave. But, what I'm trying to say is that we all have our good and bad days.
Absolutely.
We have our days where we sob. We have our days where we're super happy and, we hit the Powerball or something. But
it hasn't gotten that good yet.
Well, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. Like, there's days where we have our good, like I call firework days where it's just awesome and, you just want to celebrate and have a good time.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, that's just how it goes. My week has been... It's been definitely trying, but I have family in town, so it's a good thing,
We do.
And definitely, catering to my loved ones and to our loved ones. Why am I just like...
I don't know.
You're just a co-host. Like,
yeah, it's okay.
Anyways, but so the thing is that we wanted to bring this topic up because it's very important for us to be able to distinguish the good and the bad. I wanted to read something real quick here.
Read it.
Which is what psychologists actually call positive and negativity bias. So, but
actually, I wanna throw a question out there for the audience,
Sure.
whether you're listening or watching us here on YouTube. What does pros and cons mean to you? And also, what kind of pros and cons do you have in your life that you want to work at? Whatever pros, celebrate them. Don't be egocentric about it either, but certainly be thankful about them and celebrate them. And
Sure.
If you need to bring them up to your loved ones, whether it's your significant other, or your parents, or your siblings, or your best friends, acknowledge them and bring it up to them. That way, they can feel a sense of love and gratitude and all of that stuff.
Indeed.
And then, of course, the cons, work at them. And of course, we're going to provide with different ideas and tools for you guys to be able to work through them the way we're trying to work through them, and the way we have worked through a couple of them.
For sure. So it says here the human brain has a natural tendency to give weight to negative experiences or interactions more than positive ones. Psychologists refer to this as negativity bias. And it's probably why some people tend to focus on that one bad thing in a fountain of good things.
That's so good.
Let me read this a little bit more and we'll dive into it. Negative emotions generally involve more thinking, and the information is processed more thoroughly than the positive ones. We often have more descriptive adjectives to explain negative thoughts than we do good ones. Bad emotions, bad memories, bad feedback, and bad impressions all have more impact.
I think that hits the nail on the head.
For sure.
1000%.
I brought this up because, we have to understand why negative sometimes, or in society we live in nowadays, is lean predominantly in the negative things than the positive, because it has more effect. It has more.
It hits us more than the good stuff.
Yeah, because anybody could win. You know what I'm saying? Anybody could have a positive day and be okay, and nothing's wrong. It's the controversy that comes with the negative that hits us most. So
yeah,
me, some of my negatives. I'll point out some of my negatives. Sometimes I could get too involved in my thoughts. I've been able to train it through time to not get involved in my thoughts when I'm going through negative circumstances. But there are times where I get too much in it, and I tend to fail and fall short of the expectations I have and standards that I have on my own self. And also, I would say that do judge a book by its cover, depending on the situation. Usually, I look for input within people before I have that final judgment, but sometimes my judgment is correct, and then I'm like, you see, this is exactly why I kind of went by what I was seeing. But again, it's just also
it's like what people call it, that gut feeling. You just have that.
Yeah. When the energy is not right, it's not there. There's something's off. You feel it. And so, I try not to be a judgmental person, but it's the things that I still consider negatives or cons in my life, because they are things that I continue to struggle with, and I try to deal with them accordingly, but there's still flaws that haven't been fixed to the point where I could literally just be like, yeah, I don't have an issue with that, And I probably have a lot more, but on the top of my head, those are probably two of the main ones. And sometimes I feel also, just to throw another one out there, maybe giving opportunities for others to speak. Sometimes I want to get my point across, especially if it's like a discussion of some type that is negative, whether an argument or something. Sometimes I want to get my point across, because usually if I'm trying to get my point across, is that more than likely I've already examined the fact that I know that it's correct, and then the other person might be like, no, this is incorrect because of their own thought process.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's where, like, okay, when I see a lot of people also that they're mature and they have age, they've lived through experience, and they kind of like block out like younger people and certain things.
Oh yeah.
I kind of understand it to an extent, because it's like, bro, like, I lived a lot more life than you. I know, like, you know what I'm saying, that these things occur, and I'm going to prove you wrong with time, and time's going to prove you wrong, because that's just the self-cleansing of nature and life, right? So I do understand it. It is sometimes a negative that certain adults or older people or mature people think that way as well, because sometimes the younger generation could also be right. You get what I'm saying? And you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the youth as well sometimes, because they could be right and we could be wrong. You get what I'm saying? So, but like, I understand on both angles, But
I think that's why we have to be in a position where we're more open to receive from older people and younger people.
For sure.
Listen to them and hear them out, especially when they're, younger people, even adults too, like more mature people, I should say, come from a place of ignorance or lack of maturity, because they haven't lived through a certain experience in their life or whatnot enough to know what they're talking about and how to back it up with solid facts based off of experiences and what have you. I feel like I've been on both of those sides of the spectrum, I guess, if you want to put it like that. Mm-hmm. So it is super important to be able to be attentive to, the lack of wisdom versus the insight of wisdom based off of experience, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you have something?
I do. I mean, I have a lot today.
All right, run it.
Some of the, let's say, the cons or the problems that people tend to have sometimes, which will lead to, like arguments, discussions, butting heads, whatever it might be. Sometimes it's overlapping assumptions.
Right.
Assuming anything in this world 9 times out of 10 seems like it's just an issue. And I assume a lot, Right. Although if I'm in an assuming kind of mindset, sometimes I try to get to the root of the issue. by discussing it with the person or whatnot. But sometimes when I just simply assume, oh, this person's thinking this or this person's thinking that, and I'm completely wrong, or they said something to me in a particular way where I took it as if they're saying it to me one way when in reality they were trying to say it to me in another way.
For sure.
Again, humans, talking about overlapping assumptions, humans can assume that the limits of their minds and the truth of the universe overlaps. There's also limited thinking. Humans think in a limited way, similar to how they see or hear, which helps them survive. And with limited thinking is exactly why we get into situations with people.
For sure.
Rather than really analyzing everything as a whole, sometimes we're letting our emotions drive everything that we do thereafter rather than just processing.
Yeah, rationally thinking.
And again, going to the subject of the matter. So, that's things to look out for. Ego thinking can lead, for your ego to kind of get in the way as well. So keep that in mind, friends. Navigational flaws. Humans navigate life with a flawed navigational tool. That's some food for thought for all of you guys. Of course, I'm bringing up the negative now just because I really want to highlight it, since our minds go to negativity quicker than positivity. But I want to highlight it so then once we get to the positive stuff, that hopefully opens up your mind to, oh, maybe I should focus more on this rather than the negative. Because again, like you mentioned earlier, I think society, the human race, focuses on negativity quicker than the positive stuff is because it hurts us more, it affects us more. So then it's we just want to react to that. And then, something as simple as we're not grateful for the little things that we're blessed with, whether it is, this person has a mansion. Yeah, but you got a nice apartment, or you got a nice little condo, or you got
for sure.
Be grateful for that. You got a roof over your head. There's people around the world that doesn't, and they would love to be in your position. At least the bare minimum for us is huge for other people who don't get to have a roof.
And I think
there.
we've said this in a lot of podcasts in the past, where it's just I think if we evaluated our actions before we do them, and our thoughts before we express them, I think that would lead to a better understanding towards people and how others think.
Most definitely.
And the way we're going to do an approach towards things, because sometimes we lack that, man, and it's because most of the time it might be the emotions that
100%. But sometimes ego, right? Talking about ego, another negative trait that we have is that sometimes we view others less than human or less than ourselves, right? Sometimes people tend to think that I'm here, and since you're here, you're nothing to me. You're insignificant.
Yeah,
you're
the king
nobody.
and the peasant.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Which is just terrible. Don't ever think like that. We were all created equally because we all think similarly. We all react the same. We bleed the same.
For sure. There's nothing really different.
No.
Yeah.
Also, humans can experience pleasure at the distress of others, even as early as the age of 4.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? So let's say you pinched me and then I decided to shove you.
Right.
And you fell to the ground. Well, that's satisfying for me because I got payback. And that's something that we should not lean into. I get it, and it's understanding, and we've all gone through it, and we're probably going to continue going through it. But if we're able to kind of, here, I'm going to go to something that I should have brought up a little bit earlier and then come back to this particular part. Something that I found interesting, right? And this could be common sense. This could be something that's talked about in therapy with a psychologist, with, any kind of therapy that is helpful. There was an interesting thing that good old Benjamin Franklin first suggested back in 1772, which was a particular technique that involves dividing a page into 2 columns, right? Which you make a pros and a cons column. It's basically the gist of it. And essentially you make a list that can help people make decisions by organizing their thoughts and visualizing the potential impact of their choices. So what I'm getting at with this, based off of what I was talking about earlier, let me go back to some of the stuff that I was mentioning earlier, is that if we can make a list, a pros and cons list of humanity, of the things that, let's start with ourselves, that we need to work on, and we can evaluate certain things and just see it and visually see it. Then we have it in our brains and in our hearts. And then we can start working towards that, whether it's working on gratitude, whether it's working on how we speak to people, how we come off on people. Because again, once you have that kind of like internal feeling like, I don't know, this guy's kind of sketchy, or this guy's kind of weird, or this guy's, you know, you're already labeling someone without actually speaking to them. That's a no-no. You shouldn't do that. You should actually get to know someone. And then, you know, you decide if you want to kind of hang out with them more, get to know them more, maybe build some sort of friendship relationship with them, whatever it might be. And, you know, something beautiful can blossom from that. Or if you're like, nah, there's just something that just, you know, this person said this, they behave this way, they treated their loved ones like this, I just don't want to be around that person. Yeah. Then that's fine. But at least you're able to clearly make a concrete decision based off of the pros and cons that you just weighed out, especially if you make a list of them and visualize it, truly see it and analyze it. And then, you know, at least make the effort to go above and beyond so that you can make a fair assessment of people and give people a fair chance. Right. Instead of just labeling them right away and cutting them out. You could be missing out on a wonderful relationship, you know? Another part of the, let's call it the negative list, the cons list, is that a lot of human people believe in karma, assuming that those who are downtrodden deserve their fate. Yeah. You know, like in the Bible says, we're all sinners. So we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do things we shouldn't do. But that doesn't mean, you know, you get what you deserve. Yeah. We all deserve to be condemned because we're all sinners. Right. That's just point blank, period. You know, it's like he did what he did. He served his time. But does he deserve to rot in hell for the rest of his life? No. Otherwise, you and me do too. For, you know, let's say we're constant liars. You might be a cheater of some sort. Whatever it is, like, right. I could go down a whole rabbit hole with this, but that's not what we're here today. Moral hypocrisy. Humans can be legit hypocrites. And if we're aware of that, what can we do to work on that? Mm-hmm. Again, we're not perfect. So, being hypocrites just it sucks within family, within friends, within just coworkers, for sure, neighbors, whatever it is. Work on that. Try not to be in that category. You know, if you want people to like you, if you want people to love you and stuff like that, be as open, as honest, and as straightforward as you can without intentionally wanting to harm people. Right. Trolling. There's a lot of trolls, especially on the internet. So there's that. There's favoritism as well. Let's try not to do that, but sometimes it is pretty easy to just fall into it. And then sexual attraction. Humans can be sexually attracted to people with dark personality traits. I mean, I feel like that would be a good topic to talk about at some point too, because sometimes, let's say you're with a person because you're sexually attracted to them and whatnot, but you're hurting them because there might be an emotional tie, you know? For sure. And then that was never the intention, but it happened because sexual intimacy is such a technically it's meant to be a beautiful process. It's meant to bring two people together as now one conjoined person, physically and spiritually, and you're tarnishing that, you know? And that's just something that the human race needs to work on and get better at. So yeah, that's some of the cons list that I kind of have. I don't know if you want to add anything in particular.
So, you know, a lot of people, everybody's gonna. One of the things we have to also understand is that we're always going to be sinners. So we're always going to have our pros and cons. We need to understand these things. Again, that's it. It always comes down to understanding, like. And so once you understand things, how do we work accordingly at that point? How do we come to a happy medium?
Absolutely.
Because it's just like, that's what I try to do with with my girlfriend
Yeah.
and just like my friendships and stuff like that in general, when I try to come to one accord with a person, is that sometimes I have to drop my ego or my biases or whatever I have in my mind in order to come to an understanding with someone. If not, I won't come to an understanding with nobody. Just think about it.
Correct.
Like if you look at like big powers in the world, like dictatorships and stuff like that, like yes, they can last years, but man, there's going to be one moment or another where things just fall on top of you and your reign becomes over, whether it's through death or through just people getting you out of power or whatever.
And history has
be.
repeated that time and time again.
Of course, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like it doesn't matter who they are or what they do, just these things are part of life, and we have to come to an understanding of it, you know. Having you know, it sucks that like negative is what overpowers, but like it's just like we have to work around it, you know. We have to be the people that's what I was telling the cousin the other day. I'm like, we have to be the people that regardless of what anybody says, we do the right thing, you know. We do what's good, what changes you know, the perspective of people in society. Be like, well, that guy's doing good, you know, as opposed to these 100 people doing wrong. You know, I always say that positivity is always that light that shines in the dark. You know what I'm saying? So whether if it's a little speck of light or a very big light, you know, doing the right thing, people in a dark world would recognize that and be like, wow, you know, this stands out. So that's a very big motivation for people to understand too, that we as the people doing positive things, we should be recognized and be like, you know what, let's follow this person's demeanor and attitude than this negative person and keep living this same life, because if we keep doing this, we're gonna end up miserable or doing some crazy things that'll hinder our life to a whole nother level. So, you know, that's just where I'm at with the negativity. Honestly, I think that you know, positivity will overpower negativity by the kind acts and all these things, but negativity will still reign in the aspect of just people doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just easier to do something negative than something positive, you know. But it's also, you know, from winning you don't get much than you do from losing. You see what I'm saying? So there's still positive in the negative as well, but we have to be able to extract them and be like, you know what, let's just gain everything we can that's positive from these things, and then everything that's negative, just set it apart and try to help others do the same. Yeah,
no doubt about that. I want to just highlight a little bit more the benefits of making that pros and cons list, right? It helps organize thoughts, it shifts your perspective, it increases confidence, confidence in the sense of like knowing what to expect, regardless of the decision. It can help people feel more secure in their judgment. It makes it easier to visualize, as I kind of talked about a little earlier. Listening to both sides of an argument can make it easier to see the potential impact of a decision. So please, you know, put that into practice. We really encourage you guys to do that. It'll just make you a much wiser person, I think. Not better than someone else, just wiser, more experienced. And you can come into the room and people will be like, okay, there is something different about this particular individual. What is it? Well, your maturity level, your demeanor, the way you carry yourself based off of tools like this. So make sure you're if you want to change, right, and you're listening to our show or watching it online, like make sure that you bring that to the table. You know, that way it'll show growth. It'll show that you're a person that people want to be around and learn from you, and you can learn from other people as well. I think that's the beautiful thing about being able to grow from, you know, an infant to a young kid to a teenager to an adult to a more mature adult and then to an older individual. I like picking older people's brains a lot of times because it's you know, they're full of life and knowledge and experience. And it's just kind of like, all right, what can I learn from you so that I can put it into practice now while I'm young?
Right.
You know, something that's people have throughout history kind of emphasized is that there are unique attributes in humans, in that their ability to positively impact the environment, right? Things like attributes like common sense, critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, contextual understanding, and adaptability. These are attributes that can help humans use their judgments and make decisions based on experiences and intuition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure.
These are beautiful things we have. So let's put it into practice. Let's use these gifts that we've been given on a day-to-day basis in order to be able to, highlight more pros and the cons. The cons we can work at, but let's not stay in that negative space. If we do, how are we expecting for better things to come if we're just stuck on just the negative stuff?
Right.
I feel like in every single episode that we've been able to do, our whole purpose behind this podcast is to not ignore, right, the negative stuff. We can't pretend to just turn a blind eye. No, it's not like there's not war happening, or there aren't people being hurt, abused, there's trafficking of kids and infants and all that other stuff around the world. No. We're not turning a blind eye to any of that stuff. What we're saying is, what can we do to make it better? What can we do so we're not just stuck on all this negativity? That I don't believe that we're born on this planet just to simply live a miserable life and then you just die.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing better after that. Like, It's just, that doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And it might to you. And I mean, kudos to you if it does. I'd be more than happy to talk to you and hear you out and hear your perspective. But our sole purpose on this podcast is literally to be the difference. Not just us to be the difference, but every single one of you watching and listening to us. Right. Be the difference, be the light in this world, and to pass it on, to be able to get into a good discipline in your personal life so that you can live life to the fullest, and let's say you didn't wake up tomorrow, you went to your grave, but man, you lived a good life.
For sure. And
you impacted a lot of lives. So that's just some food for thought there for you. Anything else you need to add there, sir?
No, I'm pretty good, honestly, for today. I think that if you have anything else, but just to leave it on a good note, always look for the positive in people as well. Don't just because you're mad at someone or there's negative conversations happening with loved ones or the people around you. That doesn't specifically mean that person is already a complete negative person in your life. They aren't worth anything. They're not worth your time. Give opportunity and space for a renewal within those relationships.
Yeah.
And understand that things can be reconstructed and built. And
if you're willing to work at it,
of course, and that both parties are willing to work at it. And don't let that go to avoid, honestly, because we should be able to bless others with time and opportunity. Sometimes we don't receive that from society or from whatever it may be, but just give to life what you want out of it, and even though you get it back from life, just keep giving. Don't just understand that for those that are believers, our riches is in a different time and a different life. It's not, we're not gaining anything here on the planet. We're gaining eternal life or eternal blessings. So have that in mind.
Absolutely. Some really important quotes about humanity from people who've impacted life in history. You have people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity." Nelson Mandela said, "To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity." Gandhi said, "You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty."
Right. That's good.
And then God himself, in the Bible, it says that obviously God created humans in his image, giving them unique characteristics and a purpose. Humans have souls, minds, emotions, and creative capacity, and reflects God's nature. The Bible also describes humans as self-conscious, willful, innovative, rational, loving, responsible, and moral. I mean, this is truth, whether you kind of believe in God or not. We have all these traits, all these characteristics that we were gifted with. We have to put them into practice. We have to put them into use.
Oh, yeah.
You know, make sure, again, we've talked about it time and time again on the podcast, make sure that the people who surround you can bring those qualities out in you and you in them.
For sure.
It's a give and take, not out of greed, but out of just, you know, the interest of one another, looking out for each other, showing your love and gratitude and all that stuff. And I'm just going to throw this out to you guys. If you guys have questions, if you guys have, you know, if you're curious about something in particular, about what we talked about today, feel free to reach out to us. I love the response that we've gotten through our reels on TikTok or Instagram, even on YouTube, of how you guys like the reels and what we're saying within the reels and how he cuts them and puts them together and stuff like that and highlights specific moments within each episode. The feedback's been beautiful, and I just love how, you know, we've had people approach us to just tell us that they're taking something good and positive from this. So that makes my heart happy and full, and this is why we keep doing it, hopefully for as long as we can. And not only do your lives change, but our lives change as well. And it also keeps us held accountable, so that we can actually do our part and really try to, you know, stay positive, work through the negatives, and just, you know, enjoy life to the best of that we possibly can. Like he said earlier in the episode, like, if you guys could see all the stuff, all the oppositions that we go through and everything like that, it's crazy. It's crazy. This week alone,
and probably be like, how are you guys even recording? Well, we have to. We got to get it done, you know, and at the end of the day, that's just what it is. And we got to push through, you know. I was literally to a point, like earlier, where I was just like, bro, like, let's just leave this for another day. But then I'm just like, no, that's just what life, you know, the negative things of life want you to do. They want 100% you to get down and quit, or like have something just derail the good things you got going on. So we're not gonna let that happen. No. But definitely we share this with you guys, so you guys know that, like, man, these people are being as transparent as possible to the best of their abilities. Yeah. Again, you know, certain things we don't share because they're just very personal. Yeah. But understand that we are going through it, that we are struggling at times, and, you know, we're in struggling times right now. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the world, you know, and we just got to push through it, and it's survival of the fittest at the end of the day, and we will survive. And we will survive to live another day, you know, and that's the goal. You know, we have to be able to come together and do something like this, and positivity, and share some light in the world. So you're good? Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty short and sweet episode. For sure.
And hopefully you guys got some good things out of it, and hopefully you guys can make that pros and cons list and look at it every day, and, you know, be grateful. Be grateful for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. You know, what you need will come in time, and what you don't need, you don't need it.
You don't need it.
Plain and simple. Yeah. So, we thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you so much. And what do our followers need to do?
You need to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the ringle-dingle-dingle.
Don't forget that.
Because you guys got to know when we upload, it's time to stop what you're doing and come and watch us, and enjoy our episodes, and you know, just continue to follow us on our social platforms as well.
Yes,
we always have them on the bottom, at the beginning and at the end of the podcast, so there's no excuse.
None.
And for those that don't watch us on YouTube and see us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, everything is linked there. We have a link tree
that we do.
So go to the tree and get linked in with us. So thank you guys again. Take care, and it'll be until next week.
Have a great week, guys.
See y'all later.